This is my Pilgrim Bulldog Mark III based on a Marina 1.8 single carb. It was built in 1988 and took me around 18 months from start to finish. This is the donor car for its replacement, which was a pretty replica XR2 with a diesel engine. Turned out it was actually two cars welded together, so the best thing I could do with it was turn it into a kit car. So with the Bulldog gone, I've got a garage available to strip down the Fiesta, put all the pieces taken off very carefully in the bedroom and in the front room, which went down well, but kept it safe. Big bonnet needed to be kept safe. All the parts were stripped down, cleaned, refurbished where necessary. All the bits that needed changing, like brakes, all those sort of things, were replaced with new. This is how the body came from the factory, all painted, and there's the diesel engine out of the XR2 replica. These videos are taken to keep a record of all the locating holes, all the door panels, the locks, the mechanisms and everything, so I knew how to put them back on the new shell. Because I knew the shell had been gone by the time I finished the car, so I wanted a record of all the parts and bits and where they went, how they worked. So video was the best way of doing it. Even the boot lock, to make sure I got it the right way up, the right way around. And as for the dash going in, all the holes that are there on the original shell have been replicated on the new shell. So all the lights, the locks and everything just transfer straight over. There's a few modifications to do as you go, shorten rods and a few things like that, but it was fairly straightforward. The wiring loom came out of the donor car, and every single end, every single wire was labelled up, so I knew exactly where it came from and what it connected to. So most was reused. There weren't many parts that didn't go back on the kit car. So the loom was cleaned up and put into the new car. Here's the steering gear going in and the pedal box, the heater. As you see, the wiring loom's been threaded through the car and pop out in all the relevant holes. The suspension underneath was just cleaned down. Everything was checked that there was no loose wheel bearings or anything like that. But brake pipes were renewed all the way through the car. No point trying to make them fit from the donor car. It's quite easy to run new copper pipes and flare the ends. So everything was painted up with hammerite. Now the engine base starts to go together, the brake servo, new pipes connected up, and there's a few bits of tool work needed. Front suspension, brakes, all replaced where needed, but just painted up if it was good enough to keep. The engine and gearbox itself, we'd been running the car around for a while, so we knew it was all good, so minimal cleaning, a bit of painting, but it went straight back in as it came out. Just got to get that into there and carry on. This was one of those jobs that once you started you've got to finish. So the car was jacked up in the daytime and the engine was moved into position underneath. You could lift the front without an engine in, just one person. But now to get it back in the garage I needed the engine in and the wheels on so I could push it back into the garage so it was safe overnight. So there's a lot of measuring 3 times and do the job once. Eventually we got it into roughly the right position. A little bit of tweaking needed. Bring the chassis down over the top of the engine, and we obviously got caught somewhere here. So with the engine in, suspension legs on, bit of greasing for the bearings, get the brakes on, get the wheels on, and shut it up for the night. This was a very long day, I remember this quite well. Still going. Daylight gone out, keep the lights on. But needed to get it wrapped up and pushed into the garage. So next day, pull her out again. There we are, got the wheel covers on. So now to try and start her up and see if it moves under its own steam again. This was a visit to the factory in Stourbridge to get a bit more video of cars that had already been completed, get a few ideas of where things have got to go, like the water bottle and expansion tanks, all that sort of thing, so that it didn't fail the bonnet once the bonnet was brought down. Here we go, let's see if it works. No seats, so I'm a bit low. Slip her into gear. And it was a good feeling. She went forward, she stopped. Let's see if it can back up. No reason it shouldn't, but it's nice when it does. So with that, the interior can go back together, get the seats in, the door cards, then start looking at the roof. As you see, the bonnet's on there with the pop-up headlights. They're actually the flaps that pop down, so there's a modification to the motor to get that mechanism to work. I had a few chips on the paintwork from the door when it opened. It was rubbing the paint, so it had to go back to the factory to have that touched up. And here's the soft top on and the side glass in the door. And now we can let the shell go, so I managed to get some money for the shell. I don't know what became of it, but bearing in mind it's 2 cars welded together, I hope it got stripped down for parts. And here we are, all finished. First out into the Stoneleigh show, where I did manage to get a picture of this car with the Bulldog previously. The owner had brought it along to the show, so it was good to get them together. So after a good shakedown, I was happy everything was okay, nothing overheating. It's off on its first trip proper.